Today, we're looking at the topic about interacting human brains that are synchronizing without any physical presence. And not only is that in itself very, very interesting, but it has very big implications about the trajectory of human evolution and our future. Very important topic. It's going to be good. So what we're going to be taking a look here is this study. Now, this was published on newswise.com. and various other news articles as well, where it says here, and this is very, very recent. This was posted August 30th, and today is what, September 1st? So researchers from the University of Helsinki demonstrated that the brains of people playing an online game together were synchronized without physical presence. So it's been known that brains in humans do tend to synchronize when they are in person and having conversations with each other and making eye contact and things like this. And that in itself is very interesting. But as we move into this modern world where the majority of our interactions are beginning to take place online, via social media, over live streams, over games, we want to see what this has to do with the synchronization of humanity. And we're going to see that this is actually extremely important, because when it comes to synchronization, that is the whole purpose of a planet. The purpose of a planet is to provide a environment where minds localize into avatars, and as they spend billions of years evolving and growing associated with this planet, we get to a point where we begin to synchronize with each other, begin to get on the same page. And we're coming to a point where humanity is going to be forced to either synchronize or die, because we are approaching cataclysmic events that require collective cooperation to overcome. Things like global pandemics, things like nuclear war, things like global warming. These cataclysmic events are forcing humanity to cooperate together, aka synchronize, or possibly face extinction, or at least the collapse of modern civilization. So the point of the planet is to get humanity to synchronize. Humans develop self-awareness, and then the next step is to develop an awareness that connects us all together. And that's what in Hyperianism involves hyper-awareness, understanding that we exist together in an interconnected world. And social media is facilitating that connection. Things like smartphones, social media, really beginning with the internet, but taking very, very strong effect, especially with the introduction of smartphones and social media, because now social media, along with smartphones, what smartphones really are is that they are a technological evolution of a new human organ. These are new organs that allow us to have, visual experiences, audio experiences of the human collective. I can see what people are seeing via their smartphone device, a new technological organ. I can hear what they're hearing. They can communicate with me. I can communicate with them. We're doing it right now via a live stream. I bet many of you are using your smartphones right now to have this. So it's very important to see how technology is facilitating this synchronization. So let's continue here and take a look at this and see, what implication this has for humanity, because people need to realize that humanity is not the stage that humanity is currently at is not the end all and be all of evolution. We of course have another evolutionary step. And the next evolutionary step that we're going to take isn't simply just, becoming more technologically advanced or smarter or something like that. It's about a leveling up of consciousness, of realizing, not only are we self-aware, but we need to become hyper-aware, which allows us to understand that we form one interconnected system and that we're all reflections of each other. Self-awareness is really the development of realizing that you're separate from the environment. I'm a me and not a you. That's what happens when one becomes self-aware. But when one becomes hyper-aware, it goes beyond that and realizes, I'm a me and not a you. But from another perspective, we are actually underlying all this in an interconnected network and an interconnected feedback loop where we are all reflections of each other as well. We are both individual and collective at the same time. And this leveling up of consciousness is humanity's next step. And this will be facilitated by synchronization. So let's just continue here and talk about it, because it's very cool to see, modern science beginning to understand or at least talk about phenomena that we know is the trajectory of humanity. So online gaming and other types of online social interaction have become increasingly popular during the pandemic, and increased remote working and investments in social technology will likely see this trend continue. So more and more, we're having more social interactions via technology rather than face-to-face, and this seems to be a continuing trend. Now, that doesn't mean that it's great, obviously, to have face-to-face and real-life interactions. We don't want to get rid of that. We want more of that. That's great. That gives us a very meaningful experience. But it's interesting to see how social media allows us to have a collective, integrated, holistic interaction where distance doesn't matter. You can have an interaction with anyone you'd like, no matter where they are in the world. So research has shown that people's brains activate in a similar and simultaneous way during social interaction. Such interbrain neural synchronization has been linked with empathy and cooperation in face-to-face situations. However, its role in online remote interaction has remained unknown. So this is really important to understand here. So research has shown when in person, people's brains, they activate in a similar and simultaneous way during this social interaction. And they have this interbrain neural synchronization that is linked with empathy and cooperation. So when you have people interacting in person, there's this neural brain synchronization, and this results in increased empathy and increased cooperation. And that's really important to understand, because what is lacking in our world right now? Empathy and cooperation. We don't have enough synchronization. We are lacking in that empathy. We are lacking in that cooperation. And instead, we live in a world where it's in the survival mode, where people are more about separation and opposition rather than empathy and cooperation. It's, my country and my God and my nation and my people versus your God and your nation and your flag and your people. You are the foreigner, you are the other, you are the alien, you must be eliminated or dominated, etc. So humanity is lacking in synchronization, lacking in cooperation, lacking in empathy. And it is at that brink, it's at that ledge, walking that tightrope, where it has to choose. What's it going to be? Will we increase our synchronization, empathy, and cooperation and transition to a new planetary civilization where we're no longer fighting with one another, but instead working on creating a more optimal and more thriving world filled with meaningful experiences rather than trying to dominate and destroy and eliminate and conquer? We must get rid of that mindset. That's an evolutionary leftover of survival. It served us in the past, but it's no longer needed. We no longer need that. We need to get rid of the survival mindset and move to a cooperative, empathetic, thriving mindset of a planetary civilization. So they're talking about how brain synchronization is something that's been known. It's associated with empathy. It's associated in cooperation. But there hasn't been much known about how it translates to, rather than face-to-face in-person events, but rather online events. That's been relatively unknown. But a study conducted at the University of Helsinki investigated brainwave synchronization while pairs of subjects played a game in which they controlled a racing car together. The subjects were physically separated in 2 soundproof rooms. The study investigated the connection of synchronization with interaction and performance in the game. Based on the findings, interbrain synchronization occurs during cooperative online gaming, and increased synchrony in the alpha and gamma frequency bands is connected with better performance. The connection between performance and gamma synchronization could be observed continuously over time. So we have this brain synchronization happening, better performance, more cooperation, and this is now a quote by the researcher Wikström, who says, "We were able to show that interbrain phase synchronization can occur without the presence of the other person. This opens up a possibility to investigate the role of the social brain mechanism in online interaction." So what they're showing is that it doesn't have to be a face-to-face in-person interaction for there to be that synchronization. It can happen even if there isn't. And this opens up the door to looking at online interaction. And this makes total sense, because what this allows us to do is increase our empathy and increase our synchronization. Because think about something like a war. Something like a war is just absolutely horrible. There's so much pain. There's so much suffering. But imagine years ago when you just had newspaper to deliver the news. If a war is occurring in some other country, you don't really know what's going on until maybe like a week later, where you get a newspaper in front of your door. You open it up, there's this grainy black and white photo and this little article about what's happening. And that's all you really know about it. And it seems very detached, very removed. Like something that's not, maybe like, it almost seems like fiction, you're just so removed from it, so detached from it. You don't get that feeling of knowing like, wow, these people are really suffering. It's just so detached and so removed. But now fast forward to today, when we have things like TikTok, Facebook and YouTube and live streaming and all that. And when people are at wars, like you can see it happening almost live streaming. If it's real time, you see the suffering, and you go, wow, these people who are just like me are dying and being, I don't want to say, because I am streaming certain words, but horrible things are happening to these people. And you see this results in an increase in empathy, because you realize, wow, the world is a lot smaller than I thought it was. And people who I once thought of as aliens and foreigners and they're just like me. And this is affecting other people. And this creates this idea of, wow, we live in this interconnected world. I don't want this horrible stuff happening to these people. And it creates that urge to create a more nurturing, more caring, more empathetic world. Because now with that increase in connection, we're getting this data from all over the world almost in real time, and it becomes that much more real. It's no longer distanced from us. It's no longer cut off. It's no longer filtered through tons of propaganda. We still have a ton of propaganda today, but you see what I mean? It's lessening that divide between self and other, between subject and object. That divide is lessening and lessening as we develop in technology. And this has an impact on our consciousness, our empathy, and our synchronization. And this is just from technology that is developed by capitalist, billionaires who don't give a fuck about anything except for making money. Can you imagine what a great world that we could build if we actually had technology that wasn't designed to just be addictive to for you to watch advertisements and click on the advertisers to make billionaires money, to create platforms that are actually harmful to you in many ways because they're designed to be addictive. They work on that dopamine hit. Imagine if instead, but despite that, it's still having this positive effect on consciousness. So it's happening, this evolution of consciousness with this network that we're forming is happening despite the fact that it's built in a very nefarious way. Can you imagine if we had technology that was built purposefully to facilitate empathy, connection, and building a better world? We had social media and things like that designed instead of making the advertisers richer and trying to, take advantage of of human addictive tendencies. Imagine if they were actually built and designed to create a better world, give you a better life, give us a better experience. Imagine how much of a different world we could build in such a little amount of time. We could build an entirely new world if we had this technology that was designed to facilitate, to give us a better life, increase empathy, and increase cooperation. So let's continue here, where it says towards better online interaction. Our social brain has developed in face-to-face communication. And increased screen time has caused concern, especially among parents, teachers, and legislators. This is from a quote from project manager Katri Sarikvi, who said, if we can build interactive digital experiences which activate fundamental mechanisms of empathy, it can lead to better social relationships, well-being, and productivity online. And see, this quote right here kind of hits at what I was just talking about. If we can intentionally build interactive digital experience, which the intention of it is to activate fundamental mechanisms of empathy, this can lead to better social relationships, well-being, and productivity. Now, of course, we want to get rid of that. Because of course, what are the capitalist assholes going to see? They're going to see dollar signs and be like, oh, well, how can we just exploit this to get more productivity out of people? But disregarding that for a moment, think about what they're saying is that think about what we can do if we create these technologies for the purpose of activating the mechanisms of empathy and cooperation. And that's really what this world is lacking. We live in a world that has been dominated by what has been defined as like a masculine dominating mindset. And we need much more of the aspect of care and empathy, which is greatly lacking in this world. It's lacking. It's labeled as weakness. And why do you think we live in such a hateful, destructive, terrible world when things like empathy, kindness, cooperation is labeled as a weakness, and maybe even something that should be eliminated or overcome? No, we live in this hellhole because we're lacking in empathy and we're lacking in cooperation, and we need to integrate that into our society so that we can have healthy interactions and engage in this synchronization. And what is synchronization really? It's just getting on the same page. That's what it is. It's getting on the same page. It's together, let's play a cooperative game instead of playing what would it be called in online gaming, like a death match or something. Right now we're playing a death match when we should be playing a cooperative game. And that's what it's all about, operating together cooperatively and in a synchronized way. So according to Vikstrom, measurements of physiological synchronization and cooperative performance are potential ways to evaluate the quality of social interaction. Finding out which aspects of the interfaces promote understanding and connectedness can drive the development in a positive direction. The studies show that interbrain synchronization happens also during cooperative online gaming, and that it can be reliably measured. Developing aspects in games that lead to increased synchronization and empathy can have a positive impact even outside of gaming. And see, this is sort of the cool stuff that I'm talking about here. When I talk about like, oh, let's develop technologies and stuff to increase empathy and whatnot, I think a lot of people think that that might be super mundane. Like, oh, well, let's deliver articles that you have to study every day. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, look what Vikstrom is saying. He's saying that, like, if we develop aspects in game that increase empathy and cooperation, like just playing these online games can have a positive impact even outside of gaming. Like you can increase your empathy and cooperation outside of gaming if you were to take part in these games designed in such a way to facilitate this. So what I mean by this is that we can develop technologies that are extremely satisfying and fun and interesting, that can help us synchronize in the world. And even like social media platforms, rather than just trying to sell you products or deliver propaganda or make you feel insecure about yourself, so you partake in some sort of thing that is being sold, or because they'll do that. They'll play on your insecurities, they'll play on your fears, they'll play on your they'll play on like mental illness and stuff just to sell you things. Oh, here, you need this supplement. Here, you need this, types of clothes. Here, you need this new thing so that you can feel better about yourself, because aren't you a really shitty person? But now, of course, I'm being very general here. Please, continue to take the things that you take to help yourself. I'm not saying don't. Please continue to be healthy and do whatever your doctor or therapist or whatever tells you to do. Absolutely. But what I'm just saying is that companies and things like that will play on your insecurities and fears just to sell you things. And what I'm just saying is that if we can develop technologies that aren't about that, but instead about creating a better world, giving you a better life, giving you more meaningful experiences, giving us a better experience, we can live in a much better world. And so this is what is really, it's important to pull back and realize that, hey, humanity is evolving right now, because humans get so stuck in the little tiny slice of space and time that they currently exist in. If you pull back and look at the billions of years of evolution before humanity, and then the billions of years that are going to come, this is such a little tiny slice, a little tiny section, and people seem to think that, oh, well, this is just we are the pinnacle. We are not the pinnacle. We have a long ways to go in our evolution, and our evolution isn't simply just going to be like, oh, well, then we'll have rocket ships. No, it's so much more than that. We are going to evolve into something that is completely different, which is basically what it is. Planets are synchronization environments for subnetwork minds, because what we are aren't our bodies. Our bodies just allow us to localize and experience this local world of difference and separateness. But really what we are eternal minds. We are eternal systems of frequency. And as we learn to work together and connect, we begin to synchronize. And as we begin to synchronize, we begin to act as one. And when I say act as one, I don't mean like some robotic hive mind. No, nothing like that. Like, that's bullshit. What I'm talking about is, when I say act like one, is realizing that we're individual minds, but also exist within an interconnected network. Like this world that we live in, everything has an effect on everything else. What I do affects everything. What you do affects everything. And this is reflected in things like global warming and global pandemics and nuclear war and all this stuff. What we do affects the whole. And so we have to realize that we live in this interconnected whole together and begin operating in a way where we create the best experience for all of us, for the individual and the collective, rather than fighting each other. We're like a body, and when we go to war, it's like the right hand being at war with the left hand. It doesn't make sense. You're fighting yourself. So it's just about leveling up and realizing that, hey, wow, we're all part of this one system, and we should be working together because we are part of this one system. And we're going to see this, like I said, with the development of technologies. This is a new human organ evolved via technology rather than organically. But it's going to be more, people might think that that's weird, but that really, imagine if these things were integrated with the body and it had a more organic feel to it, then it would seem like obvious, but it's true. And what this does is this gives us the eyes and the ears of the collective. That's what this is. This connects us together through the eyes and the ears of the collective, and allows us to have this integrated experience where we can do so many different things. We can see what our friends are feeling and doing. We can see what someone across the world is doing and feeling. You can see what I'm doing. You can access the collective reservoir of human consciousness by going to things like Wikipedia, for example. This reservoir of human history and human thought. Everyone has access to this. So it's like I said, it's important to understand what's happening, where we're going, where we're evolving, because all this hatred, war, and bloodshed comes from a misunderstanding of humanity not knowing what they are, where they are, or why they're here. When humanity understands what they are, where they are, and why they are here, then all this hatred, war, bloodshed, genderism, sexism, homophobia, all that bullshit that happens in today will melt away, because we'll realize that we are not separate and other, but rather we're an interconnected network and unity underneath it all. And then we can experience each other and experience our diversity. So what that means is, instead of seeing someone who's different and going, oh, what's wrong with you? You should be eliminated. Rather than doing that, you go, oh, well, that's very interesting. I want to learn more about you. Tell me more about you. Tell me more about your experience. Tell me how you see the world, because everyone is just a reflection of a different aspect of us from the perspective of a network. So when we are learning about other people and learning about things that are maybe different or foreign or other to us, what we're actually doing is getting to learn about different parts of us as the universe, as having a connected experience together. So we should celebrate our diversity and be interested in learning about each other and our fellow minds, because we are all in one integrated system at the end of the day. And all the hatred, war, and bigotry against others really ultimately against us, ourselves. We're just fighting ourselves and shooting ourselves in the foot. So it's very important to understand, and very cool to see things like this, studies like this develop, where it's showing the facilitation of synchronization worldwide. And we need to make sure that we develop more of this and head into a world where we're using technology to elevate human consciousness. Because that's what we want to do in Hyperianism, is elevate human consciousness so that everyone is learning, growing, and understanding. And it can happen pretty fast. Look at how fast information spreads. Look at how fast information spread, say, 5-10 years ago. Yeah, it spread pretty fast. Well, compared to before, it spread really fast. You can get YouTube videos with like 1 million, 2 million views over the course of a couple months or something. That's pretty good. But now fast forward to today, when you have TikToks, it can get billions of views in a day. That's an extremely fast transmission of information. Like, just think about how fast that is, and how many people how much consciousness is affected by that. Now, usually these TikToks are bullshit, so they don't really affect consciousness in a way that's particularly positive. But imagine if it were. Now, fast forward 5-10 years from now, think about how fast information is going to be traveling now. If we're getting billions of views in a day now, and 5-10 years ago it was like 1 million views a week for something popular. Imagine 5-10 years from now how fast information will be. It's going to be traveling insanely fast. And if we use that to elevate human consciousness, we can start to build a new world very, very, very rapidly, because nothing can stop, Victor Hugo, paraphrasing Victor Hugo, nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. And this is our time. This is when we must build this new network of consciousness, what will take us from the phase of survival over to the phase of upbuilding an integrated planetary civilization, when we're no longer focusing on separateness and survival, but rather focusing on thriving and creating a better world for us right now. And then it can be amazing. This world doesn't have to be hellish. It can be a brilliant, beautiful place, and that's what it should be. And it shouldn't be a wild utopian idea. It really isn't. It's just common sense when you have this understanding of what existence is, and it's obvious. So let's start doing that. Let's start building it. That's what we're all about. So I hope you enjoyed this. I want to remind you that there are so many more videos on my channel. Check it out. This is just, if you're new here, there's a lot to go through. And if you are new to my work, please like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. If you ever felt like you've learned something or gotten something from my videos, consider supporting on Patreon. It is the best way to support my work. You get access to our supporters only weekly live streams. We're having one right after this. We're having, you get access to our Discord server, The Citadel. Helps out a lot. I appreciate it very much. And I want to give a big shout out to everyone who does support on Patreon, especially Zach, Renaissance Fairy, Cassidy, Michael, Angela, Maria, Top of the World, Ethan, DB, and Storm the Delta. You guys are awesome. I appreciate it very much.